It started after my father's funeral. Strange objects began appearing at our doorstep. Candles, herbs, symbols I didn't understand. My mother whispered the word witches. At first, I thought it was just superstition. But then, they came for my brother. It started 3 weeks after my dad's funeral. My mom had been doing better, cooking again, even smiling sometimes. But that Tuesday evening at dinner, she looked different. Uneasy. "We need to talk," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I was only 10 years old, but I can remember every word like it was carved into my brain. "Someone's been leaving things by our door," my mom told me and my brother, her eyes fixed as if she was looking at something through the kitchen window. "What kind of things?" I asked, noting how her hands trembled slightly as she set down her fork. She hesitated, glancing at my younger brother Alex before answering. "At first I thought it was trash. Maybe kids playing pranks. But this morning..." She swallowed hard. "This morning I looked closer." The silence stretched until Alex couldn't stand it. "Mom, you're scaring us." There were objects arranged in what appeared to be a circle. Candles. Shells that smelled like rotting seaweed even though we're nowhere near the ocean. And herbs, dried herbs all around the thing, all connected by a thin line of salt. Her eyes never left the window as she spoke, like she was watching for something. Or someone. "Why would anyone?" I started. "It's brujeria." She cut me off, the word falling from her lips like a stone into still water. I didn't know what that meant then. I wish I still didn't. My brother and I exchanged glances. We'd never seen our mother afraid before, not during Dad's illness, not at his funeral. But now, her face had the hollow look of prey that knows it's being hunted. That was the first night I couldn't sleep. It wouldn't be the last. That night, Alex and I lay in our beds, pretending to sleep. We were waiting until Mom would fall asleep so that we could go out and see who was doing this. At 2:47 a.m., I know because I checked my glow-in-the-dark watch, we crept toward the front door. The floorboards seemed louder in the darkness, each creak a gunshot in the silence. My heart hammered so hard I was sure it would wake Mom. Through the glass panel of our door, the streetlight cast everything in faint yellow shadows. Something was at our doorstep. That thing was crouched. At first, my brain tried to make it normal. It seemed as if it was someone tying their shoe. But the shape was wrong. The proportions were wrong. Everything about it was wrong. Then it stood up. It unfolded like a praying mantis, joints bending in ways that made my stomach turn. It kept rising until it was impossibly tall, its head level with our tall windows. In the dim light, I couldn't make out features, just a vague impression of rags or old skin hanging from its frame. Then it turned toward us, and 2 points of red light blazed where eyes should have been. Alex's scream shattered the silence. I slapped my hand over his mouth, but it was too late. The thing outside wasn't there anymore. Not like it ran away. Like it had never existed at all. Mom's footsteps thundered down the hall. "What are you boys doing?" We couldn't answer. We just pointed at the door with shaking fingers. She looked through the glass, then back at us. "There's nothing there." But when she said it, her voice cracked. And I noticed she didn't open the door to check. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Neither did Alex. We lay in the dark, listening to every sound. The settling of the house became footsteps. The wind became whispers. And every car passing by made us hold our breath until the headlights faded. For 3 days, nothing happened. No circles. No visitors. Just an oppressive quiet that felt like the world was holding its breath. Mom stopped pretending everything was fine. She moved us all into her room, as if we were all safe if we were to stay together. On the 4th night, Alex and I were playing Crash Bandicoot, trying to pretend things were normal. The familiar sounds of the game almost made me forget. Until the room temperature plummeted between one breath and the next. "Turn off the AC," Alex said, his breath now visible in the sudden cold. "It's not on," I whispered. The air grew thick, viscous, like trying to breathe underwater. The game on the TV started to static, the cheerful music warping into something that hurt to hear. Then the screen went black, and in the reflection, I saw them. 2 figures standing behind our beds. I tried to scream, but my lungs wouldn't work. An impossible weight pressed down on my chest. Through the paralysis, I felt something touch my face, bony fingers. The hairy long fingers covered my mouth, as if they were trying to cover up my screams. Those red eyes hovered inches from mine, and this time, I could see what was behind them. Not a face. Just a hollow darkness that seemed to go on forever, like looking into an empty skull that held the night sky. The pressure released all at once. I gasped, gulping air, just as Mom burst through the door and flipped on the lights. Alex was sitting in the corner, facing the wall, completely still. "Alex?" I shouted. He turned slowly, mechanically. Blood trickled from his right nostril, and his eyes were blank, unfocused. When he spoke, his voice was flat, emotionless. "They were here. The witches. They came through the ceiling. One sat on Javier. The other one made me watch." "Watch what?" Mom asked, though by her expression, she already knew. "What's coming?" Alex said, smiling, but something else was wearing his face. "What you promised them. That's enough," my mother said. "You both come stay in my room. Tomorrow we'll have a priest come to this house to purify whatever is in here." Father Martinez arrived the next afternoon. He was an old friend of my mother's from church. In the end, it was a small town after all. A man who'd blessed hundreds of homes. But when he stepped through our door, something changed in his face. He walked through the house slowly, sprinkling holy water, murmuring prayers in Latin. When he reached our bedroom, he stopped. The temperature dropped. His hands began to shake. "How long has this been happening?" he asked my mother. "A few weeks," she replied. He shook his head slowly. "No. This is older. Much older." He continued his blessing, but as he raised the crucifix in our room, it fell from his hands. When he bent to pick it up, I saw his face go pale. He approached my mom's ear and whispered, Yes, muy tard. It's too late." Father Martinez backed toward the door. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "They're already inside. They've been inside for..." He looked at my mother with something like pity. "Since before." He left without finishing the blessing. Weeks passed. The visit stopped. No more circles at the door, no more red eyes in the darkness. Mom said the priest must have helped after all, but I knew she was lying. I'd started noticing things. She no longer cast a shadow. She stood outside our rooms at night. I could see her feet under the door, standing perfectly still for hours. She'd been collecting our hair while we slept, keeping the strands in a small wooden box that smelled like earth and decay. Alex hadn't been the same since that night. He slept more and more, sometimes for entire days. Mom said he was just tired. Growing boys need their rest. But his skin was getting pale, almost translucent. I could see his veins turning dark beneath it. One night, I pretended to sleep when she came in. She stood over Alex's bed for a long time, then carefully cut a few strands of his hair with tiny scissors. She wrapped the hair in tissue and put it in the box with the others. Then she turned to me. She stood there for what felt like hours. Through my barely open eyes, I could see her face changing in the moonlight. One moment my mother's familiar features, the next something ancient and terrible. Finally, she leaned down close to my ear. "Soon," she whispered. "You're almost ready." That was 3 nights ago. Alex hasn't woken up since yesterday morning. Mom says he's just tired, but I can hear him breathing in a rhythm that doesn't sound human anymore. It sounds like 2 sets of lungs working together. She's been taking my hair now too. I pretend I don't notice, but I feel the cold metal of the scissors against my skin while I sleep. Alex just sat up in his bed. His eyes are open, but they're not his anymore. They're red. For the first time in weeks I smile. "You made it," I whisper, and he grins back with teeth that are too sharp, too many. Mom appears in the doorway. Her shadow finally returned, but it's the wrong shape entirely. My boys, she says, and her voice holds such warmth, such love. Finally together. I realize I haven't been fighting this at all. I've been waiting for Alex to catch up.
We're a family again.